today's episode, I really want to give you two ideas as we're in this gratitude week for what you can do, even if you're having a hard day, or even if you're having a tough season and you don't feel like writing 5 things down every morning that you're grateful for. By the way, that's a great habit, but you don't have time. You don't want to take the time. You don't feel like it. And it's hard for you to imagine that you could come up with that many things, right? We all go through times like that. I want to give you a couple of things that you can do that will make a difference. So here we go. Ready? Number one, if you're on social media, you have probably at this point heard of glimmers. What in the world is a glimmer? Well, a glimmer is a small positive moment or something that just feels like a little sign of something positive that makes you happy. You could think of it as a sign of hope in a way. And that glimmer is something that you want to make sure you notice when it happens. And I'll give you some examples in just a second. And you want to think they could take a second, they could take 5 seconds, a minute, but you want to, the best you can, look at those as a sign that good things are coming or that good things are possible. And at the very least, let it seep some positive emotion into you. So let me give you some examples. I was out walking the other day, a little before 5 o'clock. The sun starts to set, I think, before 5 o'clock here, but I was out walking. It still was kind of light out, but the sun was setting. And as I was coming back from my walk, I saw the sun setting over the top of the buildings in my area. I live in an urban-ish area, and it was just this gorgeous orange and pink over top of the buildings, and the sky was still a little bit blue. It was getting dusky. It was beautiful. And I love that juxtaposition of city with trees and sky. It was beautiful. I just kind of stopped, and thankfully no one was right behind me to run into me. I stopped and I just looked, and it made me happy. That's a glimmer. Then I kept going, but I remember that, and I let that positive feeling sit there for just a moment. Maybe a glimmer for you would be when someone just turns to you and gives you this big smile or laughs at something you said. And it just feels so great because you know it is from the heart. That could be a glimmer. Maybe you are in the grocery store or in your car, and suddenly your very favorite song that just makes you so happy comes on. That could be a glimmer. Maybe you are out and about and you just smell something that reminds you of something amazing that happened in life, and it just takes you back in the memory. Your brain kind of pulls that up. That could be a glimmer. So you see what I mean? It's a moment of joy that I want you to notice, because even if we're in a hard time or we're in a stressful day, or we just can't seem to get our brain wrapped around the habit of daily gratitude, this is a piece of that. And these things do happen to us, and we want to notice them. They're going to happen, but sometimes we're oblivious, right? I could have been walking and never looked up, and I could have never seen the beautiful sky if I wasn't paying attention. I had my nose in my phone, or I was, making sure I didn't trip on the sidewalk or whatever. So be aware and look for them, because interestingly, when we look for things, we find them more. Kind of cool. So what's the big deal here? We can change the way we perceive our situation or our day or our surroundings by noticing things like glimmers. And perception is everything. Perception means how your brain is interpreting a situation. And I know I've said this on a previous episode, but it bears repeating that when there maybe has been a crime committed and there's a number of different witnesses being interviewed, almost never do they all tell the same story of what they saw. That is because the brain filters information from all the input in our reality, and it puts something together that fits with our understanding of the world, with our perception of the world. So if we can notice these glimmers, it changes little tiny bit by little tiny bit our perception of the world. And if we can change that perspective to know that good things and beautiful things and happy things do happen, then we're creating a mindset that is more resilient, that is more willing to be open to positive things. And resiliency is a powerful tool, especially in the times when we're having a harder time. So you want to watch for these. Stay in the present. And if you go back and listen to the episode I did with Lisa Joy Glassman, I'll put it in the show notes, about being present. And we were talking in part of that episode about remembering people's names, but a good chunk of that episode was just about being present. And boy, I know I'm guilty of not always being present. I just take yourself out for a walk if you can, if the weather's reasonable, and just look around. Or maybe go around your house and just look around. Or the next time you're talking to people, whether it's a holiday for you this week or not, really pay attention to them, because there might be something really cool to notice there. And these glimmers are going to make us feel really good. So as we notice these little small things, we become a little bit more positive. We become a little bit more resilient. And there is a momentum to this. So I would absolutely love it if all of us would be great about writing down everything we're grateful for every day in a very good habit, in a journal, with affirmations, whatever you'd like. And even if we don't, noticing, watching for these little pieces of happiness still create that momentum of small victories, small victory, small victory, small victory, small victory. And gradually I start to think, okay, wow, lots of good things are happening to me. This day has been amazing. I saw a beautiful sunset and my friend thought my comment was hilarious and the dinner smelled amazing. And all these little things, it adds up and our brain starts to think, okay, this day is good. And that means maybe tomorrow can be good. The brain is always interpreting, always interpreting, always interpreting. So a glimmer is a small way to do a powerful gratitude practice. And they're happening to you already. I promise you they are. It's just we want to train ourselves to notice. So I would love for you, once you hear this, to tell me an example of a glimmer that you've noticed recently for you, because they could be so many different things. I would love to hear from you, tribe. So on my social media, send me a DM or comment on a post. Tell me about your glimmers that you've noticed. Or if you're on my email list, reply back to an email, drop me a note. I will share them on a future episode. Tell me glimmers. Tell me some examples that you've noticed, because this is powerful stuff and it's so simple. It's really just about noticing beauty and joy happening around us. So that's one tool. How can we incorporate some gratitude even on a tough day, a crazy day, a busy day, or a tough season? Now, for the second one today, I'm going to pull from something that a woman named Sandy Gallagher teaches. Sandy Gallagher is a partner in the Proctor Gallagher coaching company with Bob Proctor, and you've heard me mention him before. And she talks about sending love or sending good feelings to people. And this has been something that really has impacted me as I started to learn more about everything being energy. Go back to episode 1 for that one. We put off a vibration. Think of it as a musical instrument. For me, this makes the most sense. the way musical instruments work, especially if you think of a stringed instrument, the string is vibrating at a certain speed, amplitude, all of those words. And that's how it makes a sound. And different ones vibrate differently and make different sounds. Or you could think of radio waves on different frequencies. We're on frequencies. We're vibrating at a certain speed and certain amplitude, just like a string or a radio station. And that vibration goes out into the world and attracts back similar. So feelings are what create that vibration. Again, go back to episode 1 if you haven't heard it, because the quote that I talk about in that episode from Albert Einstein is truly one of my favorites. So Sandy Gallagher teaches that one way that we can heal ourselves a little bit when there's kind of some bad feelings going on is to send love and good feelings to other people. So I wanted to talk about this right now because maybe you're spending time with family this week or during the holiday season, and maybe you don't always agree with your family, or maybe there hasn't always been a great relationship there, right? Family relationships can be amazing or not so amazing. And sometimes it can feel stressful, or maybe we get into an argument about whatever because everybody's emotions are heightened. So if you have people in your life who are bothering you, or who you've had an argument with, or who maybe have hurt your feelings, or you feel upset with them for something, I mean, this is going to happen, right? Somebody says something and you maybe interpret it even in a way that they didn't intend, but you get your feelings hurt, or you have an argument. It's going to happen. So when that festers in us, unfortunately, it's not just hurting our relationship with that person, it's hurting us as well, especially when it's anger and hurt both, but especially when it's anger. So she says holding on to anger is like drinking poison and hoping that the other person dies. Right? That doesn't make any sense, but we're kind of holding on to something dangerous and hoping it hurts the other person, if you think of it that way. So what we want to do is mentally send love to people who are bothering us. And this is not the easiest thing to do. I did this recently with someone who had kind of hurt my feelings. Obviously, I'm not going to say who it was. And it was a little bit tough. It was a little bit of a struggle to actually actively send out really good feelings to them. So this exercise requires you to just take a minute and think, well, what do I really love about that person? Or what have my good experiences been with that person? Or why is that person in my life? What joy do they bring to my life? In order to get yourself to the point where you can think to yourself, I really love them. I really appreciate them. I really want the best for them. And I want you to imagine, because this is maybe a little trickier than the glimmer idea. I want you to imagine kind of a wave of good emotion, good feeling, good thought going out from you to them. You're totally imagining it, of course. Here's the interesting thing. Sandy says when we're angry at someone, like I was just saying, we're sending them horrible energy, negative energy, angry energy. And we're experiencing that immediately. Because remember, we're on a frequency and we're bringing back whatever our frequency is. We're attracting more. So, you get up in the morning. This is not about being angry with someone, but maybe this will help with the frequency idea. You get up in the morning and you stub your toe on the corner of the bed and it hurts and then you drop something and break it as you're getting ready. And then, you spill your protein shake and then you, I don't know, trip down the stairs and you're saying to yourself, oh my gosh, this day is terrible. All these bad things keep happening. And it feels like more and more and more. well, sometimes we get in a loop where we're putting out the energy that we really expect more and more and more. So that's an illustration. When we're angry at someone, we're sending out this negative anger energy or this hurt energy, and it's coming back to us. And what we want to remember, because your anger and your hurt is valid. I mean, well, I don't know if it's valid. In many situations, it's valid, right? Maybe it was a misunderstanding, but in many situations, it's valid to be angry at someone. It's valid to feel hurt. Those feelings are your feelings. And at the same time, we don't want to necessarily sit in that and let it fester. That's what I'm saying. There are so many ways to work through your feelings that are really healthy. Tapping, breath work, journaling, so many ways. Allow yourself to feel it. What we don't want it to do is fester. So we want to try to send love out to someone that we've been angry at or we've been hurt by. And she said, remember, everybody's doing their best in life based on their current level of awareness, their current ability, their current stress level. So holding on to the anger is going to hurt us, and it might hurt them too, but it's going to hurt us. And we don't want ourselves to get stuck in that same place where they are. And maybe they were treating you unfairly. Well, we don't want to end up treating them or others in the same way, kind of getting stuck in that same energy, if that makes sense. We want to be able to process it and let it go. And so one way to do that is to just take a minute and think about that person and send love. And I just picture this wave of energy going out towards them into the world. And it helps. And you might still be angry. You might still be upset. That's absolutely valid. Use some of your tools for working through that. But maybe once a day or regularly, try this. Send them love. Send them good feelings, send them appreciation for something. It helps you. And I kind of think that it helps them. Because if you've ever experienced where someone came to your mind and then the phone rang and it was them and you said, oh my gosh, I was just thinking about you. Or you were literally just thinking you were going to call someone and they called you, or you were just thinking you needed to text someone and they text you. It happens. It's an energy and wavelength thing. So let's see if we can find ways to put that energy out that is love, appreciation, and it's going to come back at least more so in that way.